Hi friends, and welcome back to a new episode of Let's Talk Elvis.
I'd like to talk to you a little bit, ladies and gentlemen. A lot of the things that happened from my side of the story. There's been a lot written and a lot said about what happened to me, but never from my side.
So I'm going to start giving a little disclaimer in the beginning of each episode because it has come to my attention that I need to start saying something. So, disclaimer, I do not make these episodes to give excuses about any of Elvis's behaviors or choices. I simply add context, explanation, and research into topics that I am passionate about because I truly believe that Elvis deserves it. I also wanted to give a huge thank you to Sally Hodel, who's the author of Destined to Die Young. I will be talking more about her and how she helped me with the research of this video at the end of the video. And I'll also be giving you guys the information on how to get her book if you want to read it for yourself. I am so excited to hit on this topic because I have been thinking about this kind of idea for such a long time, and then it wasn't until my friend Kyle DM'd me and asked me, what do you think about Elvis? Like, what's the possibility of Elvis having ADHD? And so I decided to put in research to this topic, and because I feel like it really deserves to be talked about, especially in 2021. So let's just get right into it. So we all have heard the narrative, Elvis felt the music in his soul, about his tapping feet and his shaking legs and his, tapping fingers. He was always moving, always couldn't sit still, always shaking around. And people, push this aside just by saying, oh, that's how he felt the music. He felt the music from a very early age. When asked about this, a lot of Elvis's friends and family members had something to say about it. Dixie Locke said that Elvis was so jittery, it embarrassed her, and it embarrassed her family. Her mom would be like, girl, what is wrong with him? Does he have a problem? What is he doing? Because he could not sit still. Rose Clayton Phillips, who is the author of Elvis Up Close, and she was married to Sam Phillips' nephew, Judd Phillips, used to talk about how embarrassing, uncomfortable it was to sit in a soda booth with him, like a soda shop booth, because you couldn't share a seat with him because he was just moving around so much. Scotty Moore talks about how in the early days when they were on tour, and they would have to, take those long car rides, how Elvis, they would have to pull over to the side of the road to let Elvis walk out a little bit, walk it off, because he just could not sit still in that space for that amount of time. He was annoying to ride in the car with. They had to pull over, let him get out, and walk a little bit so he would chill out. We also see in his later years, he refers to himself as squirrely. He's always moving on stage, always shaking, something he has become known for over the years. That movement, that, never stand still, kind of always had, the moves on stage. Even in his personal life, he always needed something new. He got bored so easily with, he was impulsive with his actions, his relationships, actions being like golf cart joyrides, firework wars, and flying machine airplanes at friends, etc. So, is the narrative, well, he just felt the music since day one, really the logical explanation? That's what we're going to be delving into in this video. So for a little bit of backstory, Elvis suffered with insomnia since he was a kid. And into adulthood, pretty much all his life, he had trouble sleeping. And we know this. He also suffered with other sleeping disorders like sleepwalking and fear of sleeping alone because of sleepwalking. So sleeping for him was just something that was always a struggle. So let's talk a little bit about insomnia. Insomnia is a neurological disorder. Because it is a neurological disorder, it would make sense for the stressful life of constantly struggling with money and constantly moving as a child. He moved 12 times between, the ages of him being a young child into his teen years. That would have been really stressful for him. Also, just the struggle of never having enough money. He always talked about how, he had what he needed, but I'm sure they struggled to get that, They were always, it was an uphill battle for them in so many ways. Growing up, Elvis, being reminded of that he knew how difficult it was growing up, how he grew up. So insomnia can be brought on by many different things, but 4 main things that it can be brought on by are asthma, depression, autism, and ADHD. So let's talk a little bit about ADHD. The CDC defines ADHD as a chronic condition including attention difficulty, hyperactivity, and impulsiveness. It may contribute to low self-esteem, troubled relationships, and difficulty at school or work. Symptoms include, but are not limited to, limited attention and hyperactivity, fidgets with hands and feet, or squirms in your seat. We can see these things tied back to Elvis so easily. Hyperactivity, impulsiveness, he always needed something new. Low self-esteem, for example, his neck. He was something that we love, something that I know I love. I even have a highlight for it on my account, over on my Instagram account. His neck, like, he was always very self-conscious of it because people bullied him for that when he was younger, calling him like chicken neck, or that he had like a really long neck. So that was one of his, like, you know, self-conscious features that he had of himself, among other things. Elvis's prescription drug use could be so clearly tied back to his insomnia and possibly his ADHD. In 1957, Elvis started using some of Gladys's Dexedrine. Now, Dexedrine was advertised and marketed pretty much towards anyone who was looking to gain energy, lose weight, be able to do more things in the day, feel, you know, happier. It was given out like candy, and it was easy to get a prescription to. Basically, if you had really any type of symptom, if you were just feeling bleh or something, you know, anything really could get you a prescription to Dexedrine. It was really common for housewives to have this, given their daily tasks. When Elvis started taking this, he saw instant improvement in his life. He was able to focus, and he was, more importantly, able to sleep. His life in so many ways was improving. Dexedrine now, today, is prescribed for ADHD. I believe this is how Elvis's confidence in prescription medicine got started. Elvis saw a harmless drug being advertised for something that he had an issue with. He took it and he saw immediate results. He saw it reaping the benefits for him. This confirmed for him that when he had a problem, there was a pill to fix it. There was a prescription to fix it. This is why I do not buy the narrative Elvis started taking drugs in the army because they gave them pills to stay awake on their long shifts or whatever. Why would they give a chronic insomniac pills to stay awake? Think about that one. So a lot of you may be asking, why didn't he get treated? Why didn't he get tested and diagnosed and treated for this? If he saw that he was having an issue, why didn't he seek out help? This sentence gets thrown around a lot. Why didn't he get help? Why didn't he admit himself into rehab? Why did the Memphis Mafia members do something to help him if they saw him struggling? Of course, Elvis could not be helped if he didn't see there was an issue. However, back in the day, there was so little known about a lot of medical things. Look at Change of Habit. They mention autism, about Amanda being autistic in this movie, and how they deal with curing her autism. You know, that's just so unrealistic. And it's not them, you know, being insensitive to autistic people or to autism. It's just them, clearly, they don't know that much about autism yet to really see, like, oh, this is how you might go about, you know, helping someone with autism or being more sensitive to someone with autism, not by doing rage reduction as they did in Change of Habit. But also, these things, these health problems were not talked about even if people knew someone was struggling. It was seen as inappropriate and taboo to talk about your health problems with really anybody. It could be viewed as embarrassing, and it could have even pointed them out to be like some kind of crazy person, among other things. When Gladys was struggling in the hospital with her health problems, Barbara Hearn, who was one of Elvis's serious girlfriends at the time, used to go and sit with Gladys like every single day. And later on, years and years and years after, when Barbara was asked, you know, what was wrong with Gladys? Why were you in the hospital with her? She said, I have no idea. I would have never asked her that. That woman who the Presley family adored and who they hoped would one day marry Elvis and be a part of their own family didn't even know what was going on with Gladys and her health problems. She wasn't even comfortable enough to ask about the issues that Gladys was battling with. Now think about Elvis in this situation. The man who would absolutely crumble if he ever came off as weak or a disappointment to his fans. Elvis worked his entire life to maintain an image, so he would not disappoint his fans, even though, despite the fact that he knew this image was the farthest thing from who he really was. Do you think he would ever take the risk of the public knowing his true issues to try to get help, even if he did think that he needed help? He would feel awful if he had tarnished that image. If that ever got out, I am sure that he would feel like that information would have a severe negative impact on his career and how his fans viewed him. If only he could see how people feel about him regardless of all of his problems and mistakes. So Elvis was never diagnosed with ADHD, so he was never really diagnosed with anything. There just wasn't the knowledge out there to be able to diagnose people with these certain diseases back then. I can't say for sure whether or not he had ADHD, but I can tie the pieces together and look at it from a logical standpoint and really see what would make sense. Like I said in the beginning of the video, Sally Hodel was so nice. I'm so grateful to her for helping me with the research from this video. If you guys have not read Destined to Die Young, it is so important that you do. I cannot stress it enough. From now on, if anybody asks me what my favorite Elvis book is, it will be Destined to Die Young. I will preach this book until the day that I cannot speak anymore. It has the most important information in there. Whether you are an Elvis fan or not, this information needs to be known and it deserves to be put out there for everybody to see. Elvis deserves that, and I am so grateful to Sally for using her gift and putting this resource out there for us. So if you want to buy Sally's book, you can buy it from either her website or from Amazon or from John's shop at the EP Boulevard Pawn Shop. If you're watching this video on YouTube, make sure to subscribe and give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it and a thumbs down if you didn't. If you're watching this on Instagram, make sure to follow me for more Let's Talk Elvis videos and more insight into Elvis's life, not only as the amazing entertainer that he was, but the even more amazing human being that he was. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye.